Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to be talking through how to build a Microsoft Teams tab app using Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio Code. My name is Garry Trinder. I'm a cloud developer advocate at Microsoft. This session today is part of a 5-week series. This is covering the build and deploy apps for Microsoft Teams using Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio Code, Microsoft Learn Path. So this is covered 5 weeks. We have already covered how to get started on week 1. So that was installing Teams Toolkit and creating a sample app. Week 2, I covered how to build a bot, a notification bot. And this week, I'm going to be covering tabs. Next week, well, actually not next week. I'm going to skip a week, but the next session is going to be covering Teams JavaScript library and how you can integrate that into your application. So bring some of the native features of Teams into your apps. And then finally, in week 5, we're going to go through how to deploy and publish your app to Teams and to Azure. And you've got everything available to you at the moment. So the Learn Path is live. So if you want to check that out, go to aka.ms/learn/Teams Toolkit, and you'll find all the information on the modules that we've already covered and actually the modules that we're going to cover if you're interested and you want to jump ahead. So I just want to quickly recap if this is the first session that you've seen and I'm talking about Teams Toolkit and you're thinking, what is it? So Teams Toolkit is an extension for Visual Studio Code. It enables you to build and debug and publish Teams apps much faster than you would be building everything yourself. So if you're using the Visual Studio Code version, you're going to be using JavaScript or TypeScript, and that can be used on Windows, macOS, and Linux as well. But also to just make you aware, there is also Teams Toolkit baked into Visual Studio 2022. So if you're a .NET developer using C# or just on Windows, you can build Teams apps using the toolkit in Visual Studio. For today, in this series, we're just concentrating on Visual Studio Code. So, if you're interested in Visual Studio, let us know as well. If there's anything that you'd like us to cover, let us know as well. I'll get up to speed on that. So, a few prerequisites just to call out as I'm going through this. So, to build your tab app, you're going to need a Microsoft 365 developer tenant with custom apps enabled. You're obviously going to need Visual Studio Code because Teams Toolkit is a Visual Studio Code extension, and it's also built on it uses the Node.js runtime as well. So you're going to need at least Node.js version 14 installed on your machine. Okay, so let's get into building tabs. What is a tab? Well, a tab is really like a Teams-aware web page that you can embed in Microsoft Teams. You can add them into your channels inside a team. You can add them in group chats, or you can also have them as a personal app as well. So open that up from the left-hand rail. So you've got a focused area where you want to be able to surface your app. You can also use them in meetings, so you can surface a tab in the pre-meeting stage before the meeting's actually started, during the meeting as well through the meeting stage, and also post-meeting as well. So when you're viewing a meeting that's already happened and you want to show information about that meeting in your tab, you can also surface it there as well. Now, tabs can be just static, or they can actually have some configuration as well. So you can build configuration pages so that when people in your organization start using your app that contains a tab, they can configure it to their individual needs. So you can build tailored experiences rather than just a single page that just shows a particular static set of content. And tabs can also provide a single sign-on support as well. So users don't have to manage multiple accounts. You can use your Azure AD account to authenticate and make requests as well through that app. And now tabs are a really good way of surfacing existing apps as well. So, if you've got an existing web app that people already use in your organization, you think, actually, we want to bring that into Teams because that's where our employees are working. You can do that with a tab. Now, you might not want to bring the whole app in. You might want to bring certain areas of your app into Teams, but using a tab is a great way of being able to do that. Now, the last few weeks we've been kind of talking through a support scenario, and suppose in this scenario you've got support engineers that want to be able to view and update statuses of tickets, manage assignees, and do that all through Teams. A tab could be used to surface that information in the place where they're working. It might be that you want to surface knowledge base information within Teams as well in a tab. Using a tab in this scenario can actually help. So the support engineers don't have to go to different systems all the time. They can look at a tab or a tab in a channel or a tab in a personal app and access that quickly through Teams to really help that overall support process and improve the communication within your teams. Does Teams Toolkit come into all of this? Well, Teams Toolkit really helps you to build these tab experiences through a series of project templates, which I'll show you. And it's worth noting that all of these templates are actually using the Create React app library. So as you can imagine, all of the tabs use React. So if you're a React developer, then this will be good news for you. So this is set up right from the get-go. You don't have to configure anything, and you get the features that you'd get from using Create React app to build any other web application, but you get it in Teams. So let's quickly take a look through the code which is created for you when you create a new project using Teams Toolkit Visual Studio Code. So here is our main app file. So this is like the top level component in our app. We get a use Teams hook. This is provided by the TeamsFX library that is provided with the template, and this gives us easy access to things like themes. So what is the current theme being used in the user interface, the dark theme or light theme? We can pass that into a provider, which shares this globally within our application that components that are in this app can use. They can change their change the user interface on the fly should an end user want to change their theme, so everything updates. And the use Teams hook actually provides you with lots of other information as well. It provides you with Teams context as well, and whether this app is actually running in Teams or not. Nice little utility there. If you're maybe again surfacing your existing web applications outside of Teams and in Teams as well. So it's a very useful hook that provides lots of information for you. The next thing I want to talk about is the router. So the router is provided for you to provide client-side routing for your application. So we can see that there are 4 routes that are provided for you. So the privacy and terms of use, these are pages that are needed to be added into the app manifest that's created for an app. So if you're building a tab, you can use this setup to basically create your privacy pages and your terms of use pages. There's also a config component as well, which is another type of tab. That's the configurable tab. But I'm just going to focus on the tab component at the moment. So this basically means that if the browser goes to our web server address with /tab at the end, it's going to load a React component called tab, and that essentially becomes our tab and our page that's going to be loaded. And additionally, what it gives us as well, if for whatever reason someone hits the root address of our web server, it's going to automatically redirect them to our tab as well. So again, this is all coming from the React setup. It basically means that we don't have to handle all of this. We could just go straight into the tab component and actually start building out our interface for our tab, and add any components that we want to. So let's take a look at that now. And this is the out of the box example. Really simple. The tab is just a simple function that returns a welcome component. And that welcome component, again, can provide whatever user interface that we need. But this, as you're building out your tab app, this is where you're going to start. This is where you're going to start adding in your own features and user interface. So it's really lightweight in its setup. So with that, let's actually go to the demo, and let's go to Visual Studio Code. Here we go. So I've got Visual Studio Code here. Again, if this is the first time that you've seen Teams Toolkit demo, the way that you actually install Teams Toolkit is you can go to the extensions marketplace in Visual Studio Code and just search for Teams Toolkit. I already have this installed. Just open up the page and you'll be able to see the install button as well in there. When you've installed Teams Toolkit, you'll find that you'll have a little Teams icon on the sidebar on the left-hand side. Click that and you get a number of options. Now, we want to create a new app, so we can click on the Create New App and go through the project creation wizard. So yes, I want to create a new app, and here are the different templates that we have available to us. So we've got a number of tab options actually for us. I'm going to start with our basic kind of Hello World tab. We've also got SPFX tabs as well. So if you're using SharePoint Framework, you can use Teams Toolkit as well to build your tabs. We've got an SSO enabled tab as well. So that's a tab that comes already pre-configured with SSO, and a new template called Dashboard tab as well, which sets up, as you can imagine, a dashboard like tab that's got user interface already there set up that you can go and amend. For now, I'm just going to use the basic tab template, and we get a choice of language, so JavaScript or TypeScript. I'm going to choose JavaScript. Place where I want to save this, and then type in your application name, hit enter. That will scaffold the application for you, and it will open up, and then you'll be able to run it. Now, I'm not going to go through that step now because I've already done that, so I'm going to skip to an already created project. So this is all default. I've not changed anything. What I have done is it is running at the moment, so hence why you can see the terminal down here with the local addresses already showing. So this is what you get by default. So we've got the README that's going to provide lots of information as to how to debug, how to edit and manifest, and then eventually deploy this to Azure if you want, and also add in extra features. So this is just a basic tab. It doesn't have single sign-on, but the information of how you can do that is also provided. If we look at the project structure, so we have all of our code for our tab in the tabs folder. If we go into the source folder, we can see that we've got some React JSX files in here. And if I open the components folder, let's go to the app JSX file. So this is the app file that I showed you. This is the very top level of our app with the router and the and the routes and the link and references to the individual tabs. So if I go into the tab component, we can see that is, it's very basic. Let's just have a look at the welcome tab, and we can see that, we've got lots more kind of code in here that is basically building up a user interface. And that looks like this, which is already running. So I've already run Teams Toolkit and loaded this into my developer tenant. So to save time on the npm installs that take a while, this is already running and side loaded. And I'll just quickly go back and show you how I did that. I went to Teams Toolkit on the left hand side, and I clicked this button here to debug, and then chose my the browser which I wanted to use for my debug session, which is either going to be Edge or it's going to be Chrome. So if I just go back to the tab, so we see it's running. If I just refresh, we should see that it will reload. So we know that that's actually coming from the live web server. And we've just got some user interface components on here. We've got a tab control that's on here that's just showing different information. So let's just put this side by side with the actual code. So we can see here that the actual image is all coming from this welcome component. Now, what's really nice in here is that it's actually got hot reload as well. So if I come in and make change and hit save, you see that the code is being compiled, and the change happens immediately. So it's a nice setup already from not having to make any changes. I've just created a project. I've run F5, sideloaded that into my project. Let Teams Toolkit do all the setup that it actually it needs, and so I don't have to do it. I'm then able to make changes to the code and have that reflected in the running app as well. Now, just to cover the user interface components that I talked about. So by default, it uses the React North Star library. So we can see that it's pulled in like a menu component that can be used to create this interface. And with that, the slides. And so I think you've seen how kind of really quick and easy it is to create a new Teams app that contains a tab. If you want to learn more, then definitely check out the Teams Toolkit documentation, where there's documentation there, as well as the learn path of how to create a new Teams project. Lots of information on building tabs for Teams as well in the docs. And this goes into how to design them, what user interface to use, things to do, things to don't or avoid, as well as documentation for adding single sign-on to your Teams apps as well. Should you want to, then want to make requests to the Graph API and pull information into your app as well, and to help your users go through that process of consenting to your app and authenticating as well. That's all I was going to speak about today. I know we've finished a little bit early, but I want to quickly finish with this series, build and deploy apps for Microsoft Teams using Teams Toolkit Visual Studio Code, is on Microsoft Learn. It is a learn path. We covered building tabs today. Just a reminder, not next week, week after, which will be the 21st of March, we'll be covering Teams JavaScript library. Before then going on to deploying and publishing your app. But yeah, if this interests you and you want to learn more about the previous weeks as well and modules, check out the Learn path at aka.ms/learn/Teams Toolkit and the previous recordings as well that will also be on the Community YouTube channel. And with that, Vesa, back to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Garry. Really, really cool demo and the simplification and how easy it is to do those things. It's really great. It's certainly heading to the right direction. Gets simplified release by release, so to say. And just to remind everybody, there's the V5 preview release of the Teams Toolkit also available. So if you have time and availability, I know that the team would love to get your feedback around what works in Teams Toolkit and what does not work in Teams Toolkit.